So now we're going to do some math on things. We're going to track the cursor. And this is the primary reason that we used the canvas gadget. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up here and create a couple variables. Let's go with mouse X and mouse Y. And then we're going to say mouse row and mouse column. All right, so first we'll get the X and Y coordinates, and then we'll figure out the math for doing the grid coordinate on a hex grid. So that gets kind of funky. It's kind of fun, actually. I kind of like doing the math stuff. Okay, so let's go over here to help, and let's bring up our gadget. And let's see, Canvas Gadget's always been Canvas Gadget is one of those love-hates. It's an awesome gadget. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful. It does all kinds of things. However, figuring some of those out could be a little challenging at times. Not always do languages think the way you personally think. Okay, so let's see. We have mouse enter and mouse leave. Isn't that cool? We have mouse wheel, mouse move. We got all the buttons up and down, right button, left button, middle button, whether we got focus or no focus, input and resize. We got all of those events just grabbable. And then we also have Canvas mouse X and Canvas mouse Y, but these are in the attributes, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, returns a given mouse coordinate relative to this. Okay, so there's other ways that you can do this. If you're using an image, then you're stuck using a window mouse X. And this is why we used a canvas. Because if you used a window mouse X, let's say, and let's go ahead and do it this way. If we shift our grid around a little bit, now, if you had an image here where this canvas is, and you're tracking where my cursor is, it's going to be relative to the window edge in the window top, okay? So if he comes back and says 250 by 200, well, then you have to go, okay, but what is my X and Y of my picture? Well, wait a minute. The X and Y of the picture is 0, 0 because you're inside a container type gadget. So then I have to go, okay, so what is my scroll area? What is his X and Y? And back those off of the window X and Y to get where your cursor actually is on the Canvas gadget. Canvas has his own functions for this. So that is a real bonus because it gets confusing after a while when you got a lot of things on the screen. So let's see, can be done from get gadget attribute. Okay, so let's put in a get gadget attribute. I think I hit the wrong key. There we go. And this is going to say for what? And I want to say the canvas. And let's see, I'm in the scroll area, so let's move this. Is in the wrong spot, isn't it? Let's come up here and do this on this guy here. Oh, let me think for a minute. Let's put it there for the moment. And then what we want is the mouse X. Okay. And this has to fire whether my mouse is in there or not, doesn't it? So we don't want it in any of these things. We can't expect that an event has happened. This is all placed wrong. We have to take this and put it up here above all this stuff. Okay? So we're going to just put this in our loop and say, okay, loop, every time you come through, I want you to give me the mouse X and Y. Now, we're not identifying in our variable that it's the mouse canvas X. That's just something we're going to have to remember. Of course, that's the only place we care about the mouse X and Y. Now, now what we want to do is let's just kind of test this. Let's come over here and say, oh, what the heck? We'll throw a debug in here just for a minute. And boy, do I not recommend this. You'll see what I mean. You'll get lots, billions, every time it goes through this loop. And that's more than I would ever care. Let's come in here and say debug mouse X. Whoops, say X and type Y. Wow, that's pretty awesome. And let's say string mouse X. And then we can say, put a big block in there and say, okay, mouse, whoops, Y, and I guess this can be inside that, can't it? Okay, mouse Y equals, and then string mouse Y, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. Well, hooray, we didn't have any bugs. That's always a good thing. And now I'm going to move my cursor way up here in the upper right corner somewhere. It's off the screen. So he's printing our location according to the variables. Now, are you ready? Now watch it start jumping around. Okay. You're getting 2 or 3 or 4 on each one of those values. Okay, so that's changing constantly and it's doing its job. All right, so let's get rid of this because God knows we don't want to see all that junk. Okay, now what we need to do is calculate the grid. Now, first off, this is where that other code clip of mine, I believe, comes in. And let's bring him up here, and I'm going to go ahead and kick him out of here. Let's see. Remove from project. All right, so what I have here is a couple structures and a couple functions. And we're going to take those, and let's go ahead and close this down. And, well, I really don't have any graceful place to put anything, do I? Now, normally I would put this on a new code sheet, but for now, we're going to just include it right here. Okay, so as a matter of fact, I normally put structures in their own code sheets. So what we have, as a matter of fact, let's get the structures. See, structures are one of those things. It's kind of like it's just a thing hanging out there that what you want to do is have it way up at the top, get it out of the way. That way it's defined, and if I need to use it, I'll use it. We will be using these, by the way. So first off, we're going to be using a map point. Now this is a single record, if you will, an object that will be containing both the X and Y, and then it's going to calculate the row and column. So if we have a point, we come down here and there's the two functions that are going to do all our math for us. We can come into here now, and let's go ahead and define a cursor. Okay, cursor point, right? And we're going to make this of type, oh, that's not supposed to be an underscore, that's just supposed to be that, of M point, I think. Is that how I did this? I think that's how I did that, didn't I? Can't remember. I did that a while ago. I started to, no, the M's not supposed to be there. Okay, get rid of that. So we have a map point and a map size. So what we're going to do is come down here and we're going to define a variable now of cursor point as a map point. Now, when we are inside here, what we're going to do is say, you know what, instead of using those two variables, actually, I want to do it this way. So then we can do it this way. So if the cursor is not moving, we don't want all the I/O, the usage of things being updated when it doesn't need to be. So we can say if mouse X does not equal, and this is going to be cursor point X, right? Or looks like we might have a dog barking in a minute. Mouse Y does not equal cursor point point Y. So we know it's changed, right? So it's changed. Awesome. So then what we're going to want to do is say set gadget text. And let's see if we can remember this. Gadget FRM main. And this would be string. Let's see, row. We're going to set row to be cursor point. Okay. And that's going to be row. Now we're going to have to make him a string because that's an integer. Okay, there we go. So the idea is we come in here, and if those values have changed, then we can set row to row and column to column. So the first part of this now, so that's the eventual goal. We need to say, okay, first let's say they're not equal. So let's say cursor point X now. Let's set him to the new value. So this is going to equal mouse X. And then we can set U equal to mouse Y, right? Okay, so now we're sitting here and our cursor point X and Y. And if you've noticed now, we defined this cursor point. He's of type map point. Whoops, there it is, map point. And up here on our structure, we're filling in these variables on that instance of that variable. Okay? Now, what we want to do here is calc row and column. Now, I just so happen to have functions that do that for us. But before I just arbitrarily call them and say, look, it happened with magic, let's come up here and let's get cell, and maybe we're going to change that. So we need a hex size because remember, this grid of ours is, I believe, 64 by 64, and it's quite customary on war games and game maps like that for you to be able to zoom in or zoom back and make these sizes of these hexes bigger and smaller. So that's going to be a variable. So we need to know what our current hex size is. That identifies much for what we're doing. And then we're going to give him our map point, okay? We're going to give him a pointer to our variable that we created. Now he's going to come over here and calculate what a half is and what a quarter is of the hex size. And then we have to do some funky math. Then we calculate, oh, this is taking X and Y and calculate. No, this is taking row and column and calculating X and Y. That's true. That's not the guy we want to do. So that is the wrong function. I am going to be back in a moment with what we're going to do for this calculation and explain it, and we'll just do it all in code right here in front of you. So this ends this little clip, and I'll be right back.